You know, the beauty of those who are here are typically not the arsonists. The ones who aren't here are the arsonists as well as the firefighters. So they're building fires, and then they're figuring out how to put it out. So I guess there's two other reasons as well. You got to get your CE credits, but at the end of the day, you're here to learn. And as we learn moving forward, it helps our business go from this point to this point. One of the things that helped my business, I grew up here in St. George. I worked for, back then it was Larkin Plumbing. I think it's L&L Mechanical now. I think they're still around. Gray Larkin and Dell Larkin. I worked for them, loved it. All of a sudden one day the place shut down. We were traveling all over the country doing hospitals and care centers in remote territories. Ruidoso, New Mexico of all places, and Des Moines, Iowa, and places like that. They'd fly us back and forth every couple of weeks. But it came to a screeching halt. They moved to Las Vegas to work for Larkin Plumbing down there, which is Gray's cousins. And worked for them for a little bit, then worked for another company. And then a company came up for sale. It was called Anytime Plumbing. And I purchased that company. It was a one-truck company that had two trucks, but one guy, he was in trouble, was not licensed. And luckily, I just got my license down in Nevada and built that company up to a room like this. And a company meeting would have about 350 people in it. Had the opportunity to step back because I had nothing to do. I had a great team. And that's what I encourage each one of you guys to do, is to create a great team. My team's right over here. I'll address that later. I got two sons and a son-in-law. Robbie runs the operation. Brett runs all the peripheral stuff, the inventory, things like that, vehicles, the whole enchilada. Corey's a CPA. Just nauseates the heck out of me, but sometimes with all of his stuff. So here we go. Maybe. There we go. Primary reasons for business failure. I like this, Robbie. Okay. Plan to fail property. What do I mean by plan to fail properly? Or failure to plan properly? What does that mean? Enough said. Okay, next. Failure to monitor financial condition. How many of you get financial statement? Well, I better not answer this question. When should you receive your financial statement? It's now February. When should you receive your financials?
It's March.
Right there's the one, Robbie. Which March? Again, Corey, I'm going to ask you this question. I knew he was going to answer that one. Corey, when should I receive my financials from January? It's now end of January. When should I receive my financials? What is the date, the number, when I should receive my financials?
The 10th.
Or, yes? 15th. Okay. I'm good with the 10th. I'm not good with the 15th, but I'm better with the 5th. And people here are saying, you've got to be kidding. I can't get anything by the 5th of the month. Corey, can you give me my financials by the 5th of the month with very few adjustments?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Why do I need to have financials by at least the 10th of the month? What happens? What's that? All your bills are due for one, but I cannot react to a problem I had in January until March, April. If I don't get my financials till the end of February, from January, I can't create action plans to correct the problem. So what happens with my business? If you have those financials in a timely fashion, by at least the 10th, you have a ripple effect. You don't have the wave effect. It worked yesterday. Okay. Failure to price properly. What's happened recently? Inflation. Call it what you want. Gouging. What happened we go down, I have a business in Tyler, Texas, of all places. And it's East Texas, about an hour and a half east of Dallas, about an hour and a half west of Shreveport, Louisiana. It's a beautiful area down through there. We left town here, and when we got back 3 weeks later, fuel was $1 more expensive. How many of you raised your prices immediately because of that dollar raise? There you go. You know, I belong to the QSC, the Quality Service Contractors, and it's part of the National Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors National Association. We have people in there that are saying, should we raise our rates? Are you out of your flipping minds? Are we going to suck that dollar up, or are we going to have our customers suck that dollar up? It's really a no-brainer. Let's get that thing. It worked a little while ago. No, I will. It's really funny. He knows nothing about technology, but
Turn it on.
may work. Okay, failure to manage cash flow. Little experience about my company in Las Vegas. We started 18 new service trucks in 1 year. What would happen to your cash flow if you did that? Yeah, there was no cash flow at all. It's still not working. Interesting. Okay, thank you. Failure to manage growth. That growth and the cash flow, same type of thing. You know, one of the things that we did at Valley is we have a certain amount of bodies. And we're advertising. Some of our technicians, we were only in service and repair. Some of our technicians were doing 6 and 8 jobs a day. Guess what happens? Sales dropped. But you know what? When we started downsizing the amount of service calls we had into the bodies we had, what happened to sales? Started to go up. Guys get 2, maybe 3 jobs a day. They maximize those jobs. So we dropped, we were talking earlier, if you were not a paying customer, if you didn't give us a credit card or a check when we left your house, we weren't coming. Or business or whatever. We do very little commercial business anymore because they want to be billed. That's just not what we're a cash-based business. Our guys, those of you who do service work, you know sometimes how hard it is to get approvals to fix a stinking toilet. I don't care if it's a $200, $300 toilet, whatever you want to call it, it takes you an hour to get approvals to do it. And then it takes you 3 months to get paid. Failure to control debt. Back to my Las Vegas experience. When you talk about a truck, we financed every truck we got. We did not finance all the sewer equipment, the cameras, the locators, all the inventory. What do you think a truck cost? Let's say it's a Sprinter, and it's set up real nice. It's got a camera in it. It's got sewer equipment in it. It's got a water heater in the back of it. What do you think on the tires? How much money do you think is sitting there?
Probably 50 grand.
Right now,
Which including the truck itself. 80 to 100. 80 to 100, depending on the type of cameras and so forth like that. Now, we used to buy those ProMasters. Robbie stepped out, I think, for $36,000. We just bought some of them for our Texas operation, $47,000. Manufacturer's MSRP, let's say it's $50,000. They're selling for $55,000. There is no reduction. There is no discounts for fleet discounts anymore. It's you pay what you pay, and if you don't buy it, if I don't buy it, somebody else is going to. That's what they say. Okay? Failure to plan for transition. Right now, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Just scratching? Okay, so failure to plan for transition. Transition, what just happened a couple of years ago with everybody's businesses? COVID hit. Isn't this transition kind of fun? You know, our industry, we skyrocketed. Now, those of you who are in new construction, some of those new construction jobs came to a screeching halt, didn't they? Did anybody have that problem? And finally, the general contractors woke up, didn't they? Yeah.
There's only on a couple jobs, too. Most of them were like, keep pushing, we're just gonna be careful. But we didn't try to miss a beat.
I had an interesting one. My manager down in Tyler, Texas, service repair only, we do plumbing and HVAC down there. I found out one day that the office was closed. He had shut the office down. This COVID thing had just drove him nuts. Shut the place down. Well, guess what happened by noon the next day? Everybody's back to work and everybody's having a good old time. So the failure to plan for transition. We have to sit down as a group and plan it out.
What I told you?
Nice. Gives me dead batteries. Gives me a thing with dead batteries in it. Okay, so what's that? Yeah, that's right. Now you know why he's in charge of the place. Okay, so failure to transitions from me to the next generation. How many of you are second, third generations? Raise your hands. And you know what? It's surprising that they're still in business. What's the success rate of third generation people in our industry?
8%?
What's that?
It's like 8%?
Well, you could be right. The last one I heard was 27% of third generation businesses don't make it. And why is that? I heard somebody talking yesterday, I can't remember who it was. Why is it that they go out of business? Dennis, how many times have you had to go home and tell your wife there won't be a check this week? Have you ever done that before?
No, I'm afraid of her.
How many times were you supposed to have gone home and told her that? You've done it though, haven't you? Yeah, there was. And you know what? Have my sons and son-in-law ever had to do that? I think what we're going to do is we're going to cancel their checks one of these days and have them go home and tell their wives that, and maybe they'll think differently. Do you think they think differently than we do? Sometimes they think they're entitled, and that's why that third generation has so many problems, because they're entitled.
The sons don't think, or the daughters or whatever, don't think dad really had it together.
Yeah.
And they're gonna change things, and they realize when they're bankrupt that dad did what he was doing. You know, and not saying that things can't change or in a better way with the next generation, but I think we gotta be very careful.
You're exactly correct. Yeah, they've got to get together. They've got to get their stuff together and realize that money isn't made on trees. Oh, it does work, Rob. If you don't have to be out of business to be failing, do you? Can you be out of business and still be in business? I see that quite a bit. How do you know? You got to keep score, don't you? Keeping score is a huge thing. Keeping score is these financials. In Las Vegas, I was at about 10 million in sales before I even knew what a financial statement was. How many of your granddads or your dads were the same way in business? Ran by the seat of their pants. If there was money in the checking account, you spent it. If there wasn't, you didn't. But first of all, you paid your bills, then you paid your family, and your technicians at the same time, your employees. But you know what? Many small business owners are losing the game, but the problem is many aren't even aware of it. In my coaching days, I counted up, it's been a year or so ago, I counted up, I've been to about 160 plus operations nationwide and also in Canada. I used to be the vice president of Mr. Rooter. Anybody heard? There's a Mr. Rooter here in town, I believe, isn't there? I used to be the vice president of Mr. Rooter. So I handled everything in North America. My office is in Waco, Texas, but I never went there. Well, I did for meetings, but that was about it. That's a pretty nauseating place. But part of the problem was these people had no idea what money meant to them. You know, the ones I hated to work with the most are us that were plumbers turned business owners. The ones I liked to work with the most were the people who had too much money and bought a franchise. They knew their numbers. They didn't have they didn't have a clue about about the businesses and so forth, but they knew their numbers. So financial ratios. When you go get a loan from the bank, what's the first thing they ask you for? 2 years of what? At least 2 years. Tax returns, profit and loss statements, and balance sheets. Why do they do that? See if you're stable, okay? They put this thing in this big calculated formula, which, by the way, Dave, could you do me a favor? Could you pass a piece of paper around? I've got a bunch of formulas and stuff in here, some spreadsheets. I'll be more than happy to send it to you. Or, Dave, maybe I can just send it to you and have you send it out to everybody. Maybe that's the right answer. Because half the time I can't read your email addresses anyway, and then I have to type it in. So, Dave, if you want, we'll just have you send it out to everybody. But they look for trends. They want to know if you're headed up or you're headed down. What if you're headed down? They're not interested at all, or it's a long process. If you're on the trend thing, when is the worst time to get a loan?
When you need it the most.
And it's always when you're trending down, isn't it? Yeah, that's correct. Okay, look for danger signs. This is your banks. Compare to targets. Their banks have operating targets. They say our SIC codes, which is, what is our SIC code? What does that mean? SIC code. That's what we're all known by workers' comp, by insurance companies, by the bank. There are certain SIC codes that we go after. Is that correct, Corey? Is it SIC codes? Perfect. Okay. Compared to industry averages. So they have industry averages out there. I'm going to show you some of those in just a couple of seconds. Compared to others in your industry. This may or may not work. It didn't work earlier, but we're going to try it. Come on. Oh, it does. Cool. Okay, so this is a company that their sales for 2020 were 2.6 million. 2021 is 2.8 million. So these are numbers that your bank is going to ask for, more in the lines of your income statement and your balance sheet. We just bought another company down in Tyler, Texas, a small HVAC company, just a couple of months ago. The bank asked me for my information. I said, hang on one second. I pressed a button. I said, did you get it? Guess how long it took me to get the loan? That same afternoon, because everything was already ready for him. It was already there. So right here are your bank recommended numbers right here. And this is one I'll send to you anyway. It'll have these numbers in it, but put your own numbers in it. So often, current assets and current liabilities you do not have in your income statements or balance sheets. What is an asset? Something we own. Okay? What's a liability? How much we owe on that particular asset. Okay? So short term, Corey, help me out. Short term means how long? Current assets and current liabilities. What's that term? Is it a year? Is it a month? 1 year. Okay? I prefer to see the current assets, if you could do it in a month, because that's how the bank recommended ratios are. So let me show you a couple of things. I can't even see it here, so maybe I can do it. Thank you. It's not working. If you were to hover over each one of these little triangles right here, it tells you something. A little thing will pop up and tell you if this number is high, then it means this. If this number is low, then it means here. These numbers right here, if they're all a positive number, there's very few of them. There's a couple right here that are negative numbers. This company is doing fair. Again, their sales increased right here, but one of the things you look at here, look at the payables day out. 2020, their payables day out 59 days. What's happened here? 71 days. Would you, as a bank, loan money to this company? I know it's only 20 days or whatever, how many days it is. Would you loan money to that company? What's receivables here? Receivables turnover ratio. It's actually gone down. Is this company a new construction company or a service company? Look at that number right there. That should give you a secret right here. Receivables turnover ratio. 36 days, 29 days. Any of you that are in new construction, would you ever get your money in 29 days? It's rare. This is a service company. Okay? So we make this thing go now. Maybe. There we go. Okay. Robbie and I belong to a peer group. The quality service contractors, the service repair contractors, we belong to a peer group. Now I blanked the names at the top. It's kind of hard to see. I wish I knew how to turn some lights off. But two of these companies up here are our companies. Keep going, Rob. Keep going, Rob. Let me have you go play with those lights over there. So what we did is we submitted all of our financials to everybody. And what you'll see, unfortunately, in the one in the red here is hard to see, but it gives us a snapshot of what we look like as compared to other companies that are like us. Here we have a company right here that their materials are 9.2%. This is 18%. This is 22%. This is 23%. We're all over the board. But the company that is right here at 9.2%, what kind of a company are they? Service and what else? What kind of service company? Drain cleaning. Drain cleaning company. They use very little materials. Okay? Very, very good company in Atlanta. Anybody heard of Rooter Plus before in Atlanta? Big, huge company. They do a lot of grease and septic tank pumping and things like that. I don't think Charlie would mind if I mentioned his name. Very, very successful company. Last year, we just went to our meeting 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. They went $5 million in sales in 1 year. It was 4 or 5 million, one of the two. So here, they're 17 million. There were 22 million last year, 2021. Can you imagine how many trucks he had to buy to get there? So anyway, you can see if you belong to these groups, and we can even get a blind group here and put financials together and say, this is where, and of course you would know which one you are, but you'd blind the rest of them out so you wouldn't be able to tell who's who. And I don't really care if you do know who's who. I mean, that's up to you guys. We, as a group, we didn't care. I got rid of the number 2 up here as the names of the companies. So, but you kind of get the idea. Then over here, you can see, I don't think it's going to let me do it. In fact, I know it's not. But over here to the side, it gives us, we did this in 2020, we did it in 2018 and 2016. But what I saw in those numbers were all of a sudden our overhead costs started going down, which means the people we pay in the office were either reassigned, assigned to do better tasks, but the overheads in the office went down sometimes 2 and 3% per company. Isn't that interesting? Because we looked together and said, what's this person doing? What's this person doing? You know, what's my dad still working in the company for? You know, those kind of things. Good. Okay. So good business managers. What is a good business manager? What do they do? Are we, quote unquote, in this room, good business managers? If not, that's what we're here for, isn't it? That's what we're here for. Okay, they have a business plan. What is a business plan? Just in a nutshell. What's that? A roadmap. Where we are today and where we're going tomorrow. When you go on vacation, do you have a business plan? If you don't, how are you going to know when you get there? When you're on vacation? We did that one time. It was kind of fun. We hopped in the car one time and just said, let's go north. We drove and we just would stop and said, where are we going tomorrow? That way. We had no idea where we were headed up. We ended up over, looked at those 3 guys in the mountain, or those 4 guys in the mountain. You know Mount Rushmore? Yeah, it's kind of fun. Enjoyed it. Okay, they have a budget. I hate budgets. I hate them, I hate them, I hate them. Why do you have a budget? What's the reason to have a budget? Exactly, yeah. What if it's not? What if you had to buy a piece of equipment and it's not budgeted for? Do you redo the budget? Do you take money from your salary? Or what do you do?
Well, if you have a good budget, you can sometimes take from other areas
Sure.
and move it over.
Yep. That very.
If you're planning ahead well with a good business plan, you'll have something in the budget for that.
Yep. Contingencies. Yep. How many of you grew during the pandemic? Okay. And were you planning to grow? Yep. Again, budgets to me are kind of a waste of time, but those of you who have management teams, how are you going to bonus your management team if you don't have a budget? In our Texas operation, we have a general manager, a plumbing service manager, and HVAC service manager. And they're all tied to the budget. The service managers are tied to the gross profit, which is the sale of the product minus everything it takes to leave at the customer's home, besides all those tools you forget about. So that's what they're bonused off of. The general manager is bonused off the bottom line. And the bottom line is, and they produce their own budgets. They know what the expectations are. We want double-digit growth. We want double-digit bottom line. And they've done a great job. But that's how you bonus your people. If you just arbitrarily give your management people a bonus, what does that really mean? Appreciation only. Yeah. Not that you did a good job, but thanks for showing up to work today. That's what you're giving a bonus for. What's that?
You don't want them to quit, so you give them a
But maybe I want them to quit if they haven't hit their bonus or their budget. I want them to quit. Or I'll give them their freedom.
service that's a little
Sure, yeah. I'd just soon give them their freedom if they're not hitting their budget. Okay, they're obsessed with the numbers. Like I said before, I was at $10 million in sales in Las Vegas before I even knew what a financial statement was. And one of the first things I started doing was taking community college classes. When is the best time during the day to take a business class at the community college? Right dead center in the day, and you turn your phone off and let other people do their jobs. You make other people do their jobs. That was the best thing I did. I had a morning class, and sometimes I'd take them in the afternoon. They were all financial classes, all business management classes. I had no clue how to read a financial. You know that little T thing you learn in your financial classes? What's that called, Corey? The T or T account. I had no idea what it was. But you know what I learned? And that's when my business started going from the bottom line started going from here to here, because I knew that my top line was supposed to be here, but it was here. I was priced wrong. They receive timely and accurate financial statements. We've already talked about that. They use their financial statements to make better decisions. If you don't get your financials, and let's say you had a bad February, and you don't create a plan to affect March, what's going to happen? March gets bad, and then again, here's April, here's June. Oh yeah, it's the summer months, July, and then down again, isn't it? So we got to have those plans. We got to get those financial statements in our brains, and don't be embarrassed to ask questions. When is the worst time to ask questions? When it's too late. When it's too late. Okay, good business managers manage their cash flow, which I didn't do in Las Vegas, is starting those 18 trucks. We had the best looking fleet out there. But you know what? One day, any suppliers in here? One day, does anybody know George Schoen Kelly Pipe and Supply in Las Vegas? They've since sold. Anybody know of a company called U-Haul? That's the Schoen family. George is one of the ones that left the meeting. If you read about U-Haul, George is one of the ones that left the meeting before they shot each other. Did you know that? Years ago, the two brothers, there's three brothers, George is one of them, and they were in a meeting and they didn't like each other and they were all arguing, and one of them pulled out a gun and shot the other one. So before the other one died, he shot the other guy and he lived. So he got the company. So anyway, managing cash flow. George showed up at my house at my office one day, and we were deep in debt. We had a supplier or a general contractor that we were doing work out at Nellis Air Force Base, and it was one of those jobs that you guys put your knives away over there. We're doing a job out there at Nellis Air Force Base, and the job needed to be done in 45 days. This is the helicopter facility out there. It had a halon system and the whole enchilada. And our contract was $750,000 on it. And the government said, if you guys get this done in this amount of time, we're going to give you a bonus of 10%. That's back in the days when they could do that. So we got this job done. We worked around the clock. We had 3 different crews. We worked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We got it done. The general contractor called and said, hey, everybody meet us at the office at like say 11 o'clock. We'll have a big lunch and everything. Everybody get their checks. Went to his office. The office was vacant. He was long gone. His house was vacant. He had disappeared. So now I'm $750,000 in the hole, as well as a lot of other people. Yeah, that was a tough one. George came to me one day and said, we had made arrangements to make all the payments to him. My payments were like $80,000 a month to get it paid down. And he said, Lawrence, just so you understand, just so you get it, I own everything that I see here. I own your home. I own your cars. I own the clothes that you're wearing. When you sign those contracts with your suppliers, that's what you're signing. You're signing a personal agreement. And it really hit home. It really hit home. The good part about this, I guess you can call it a good part, it's kind of bad, but the FBI showed up one day and wanted to know if I knew what happened to Tom Pace. And I said, no, why? He said, well, they found him dead in the desert. I said, well, I don't know what happened, but I want to congratulate the poor guy that did it. So you get the idea. Anyway, my guess it was the excavator because he was buried face down, feet up. Okay, they're always looking for ways to improve their numbers, always looking for ways to improve a number a little bit. Robbie, help me out. When your dispatchers in your office started tracking drive time between locations, what happened?
They dropped 2 miles between jobs within, I don't know, a month or 2.
So what happens if you're doing, let's say 3 jobs a day, that's 6 miles, let's say whatever the heck it is, how many miles or how much dollars is that in a month? Those little itty bitty things. What was the thing that they said yesterday? Is it RMA? What they wrote on the board? What was that? What was it again? Random active savings. Random active savings. Just some of those little small things like that you can make a lot of money by just those little itty bitty things. Always be looking for ways to improve the numbers. Manage their assets. Again, the assets are things we own. Liabilities are things we owe. And then we could have an asset and a liability on the same thing, can't we? Continually improve their financial skills. Don't be embarrassed to take a class with a bunch of 18-year-old kids. It's really kind of a lot of fun. One of the things that happened in my class when I took my second class, the guy was in my neighborhood that we was working with. Do you remember Tom Jackson? Yep, good old Tom Jackson. He was a community college teacher. He had got with one of the gals in my office that he knew, and he got my financials. So here we are. He spreads these financials throughout the entire organization, the entire class. It's called an entrepreneurship class. My goal at the end of that class is to learn how to spell entrepreneurship. So I did pass the class, though. But he passed these financials out to the entire group and said, fix the problem with this company. I had a bunch of 18-year snot-nosed kids telling me, and I had no idea it was my company we were working on because he had changed a few things, but here they were telling me how to fix my company. Isn't that interesting? So don't be embarrassed about it. Take it with those, now they're 17-year-old kids, it's even worse. So, but you get the idea, work with other people and have them help you out. Continue to improve your financial skills. Ask for help before you need it. In my coaching career, at first I was gone about every third week, then it was every other week, then it was every week. I did a lot of seminars for associations and so forth. But the ones I hated were the ones that I get a call, they're 7, 8 o'clock at night, how soon can you get here? I'm in real trouble. And you kind of wonder whether you think, you kind of wonder to say, do I really want to go to this guy's place and say, let's see how much we can get out of your inventory before you shut your doors, or what? There were 3 companies that I helped them shut their doors. There was absolutely no recovery involved with these 3 companies. Sad situation. A couple of them were family operations where the 2 brothers didn't get along, and it was pretty ugly. But again, ask for help before you need it. There's lots of help out there. Let me caution you. There's lots of companies that are going to knock on your door and say, I can turn your company around, not necessarily to buy your company, but I can turn your company around. They are only a financial company typically. They know nothing about your operation. They might as well be working with an attorney. They might as well be working with a hairdresser. It doesn't really make any difference. They know financials. They do not know our businesses. They share the wealth when they reach their targets. This is the bonuses we talk about. If you hang that carrot out there to some of your people, they're going to go after it, aren't they? Especially when they tell you how far out the carrot needs to be. That's the ones I like. Hire people more knowledgeable than yourself. This is one of the things, two of the 3 things that I learned in this entrepreneurship class is share the wealth, hire people more knowledgeable than yourself. How many of you know everything? Well, I'm the only one with my hand up. We don't, do we? We don't know everything. Bring other people in. Talk about ideas. They may have the most screwball idea ever. Robbie has some of the most screwball ideas ever, but you know what? All of a sudden, when he got rid of all these commercial accounts that we were having a hard time getting approvals for work and getting paid, we got rid of all those accounts, sales increased. I'll give that one to you. Okay. Make accounting top priority. If you have an accounting person that does not have your accounts, your financials to you, by at least the 15th, and I'm okay with the 10th, but I'm better at the 5th, with depreciation in there, then you need to change accounting people. If it's your wife, tell her to have a nice day. I'm blunt at stuff like that. I remember a lot of times out working, coaching, calling Corey when he worked for a couple other companies and say, Corey, how can you help us? You know what? The accounting people were half the problem. They weren't giving their people good numbers. They would only do depreciation at the end of the year. When should depreciation be done? Every stinking month. It gives you a true picture. Is it fake money? Yeah, it is. But it's real at the end of the day. Okay, I'm gonna go through this yellow ones. We're gonna do some other fun here. Okay, so here's some national averages on the right-hand side over here. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to look at this company and tell me these are their numbers right here. These are national averages. Tell me what kind of company they are.
We can't read it back here, but
I can't read it here either. Okay.
And you want us to tell you how to
Wonder if I could lighten that up here. We'll just keep going here by the time I lighten it up. Okay, so this is 40%, 35% here. So this is sewer and drain cleaning, hydrojetting. They're big in hydrojetting. This is a drain company, isn't it? Yep, big drain company. You can tell by their materials. Materials are a little bit low, but that's okay. Okay, so their sales are 1.1 million, almost 1.2 million. So this is going to give you just some ideas to look at, some key indicators. Plumbing labor. Here's a real interesting for you. Plumbing labor at national average was 39%. Now this 39% includes everything. Includes your 401k, your insurance, all that kind of stuff. So that's what this 39% is right here. They're paying 28%. What can you tell me about their labor force? Could be no benefits.
Might be underpaid.
Underpaid. If a technician is underpaid, what else is going to happen? What's that? He leaves, okay. Uneducated. They're a drain company, remember? Here in the state of Utah, there's no licensing for drain cleaning. In the state of Texas, or their business down there, you have to have 2,200 hours in order to be a drain cleaner. Okay? So, again, lower paid people. How do they treat your equipment? Underpaid people.
Not well.
Beat the tar out of it, don't they? Okay? Do they tell you when it's broken? No, not at all. Okay, here we go. So consumables, yeah, it's a whole other thing. Okay, so here we have customer protection plans. This would be your we call ours a QSC, a quality service plan. These guys are relatively low. It's 1.8% is where they're at, and the national average is 2%. Okay, yes?
So I've looked in the past, and I guess I'm maybe cheap, but is there a good place to find the national average of different types of companies without having to pay for some subscription? Do you pay for something to get these national averages, or where do you find them? I've played around on the internet and looked for them before. And
Drop me an email, I'll send one to you. Corey, the accounting, the CPA people have different things like that. Your CPA can give them to you. I don't think they don't give them to you very peacefully because there's so many different variations. But what I've done, I've collected hundreds of financial statements, and that's where I've come up with a lot of these numbers. So I take a group of numbers and say, okay, these companies are more of a drain cleaning company. These companies are more of a plumbing company, and these companies are more of a combination company. Okay, more on the lines of service and repair. New construction, they are all over the board. Depends when you do, if you do lower end residential, high end residential, custom residential, if you do high end commercial, like government type work, or just plain commercial work. They're all over the board. So that's the tough one.
so I guess what I've learned to do is just more or less trend it against myself and see my averages and kind of see how.
Great thing to do, yeah. Look at it over time. Don't look at it over a month. And I built the graph out of it. I build graphs because I understand graphs more than I do anything else. I understand these percentages, but I don't understand a number. I don't understand $24,459, but I do understand 2%. That's the difference. Okay. Okay, so here's some more. Again, sorry you guys can't see these. Would it help to shut these lights off, or do you think that would help at all, or just because it's blue?
The black numbers, maybe you can't see it.
Okay. Okay, so again, here's some things that come up. Technician labor and commissions. Again, we're low again here. Come on. Okay, total labor costs, again, we're way low. We're 6% low on our labors. How do they treat your trucks when you have a lower echelon, somebody that's just not very experienced? Beat it to death, don't they? Yeah, beat it to death. Okay, vehicle maintenance and repair. Look what's happened here. Their average is 3.3%. The national average is 1.6%. Tell me about his vehicles.
Well maintained.
What's that again?
Either well maintained
Okay, so again, they're spending a lot more money, almost double, a little over double. So they're either old vehicles or they're getting the crap beat out of them, one or the other. And it could be a combination of both. And we'll look at that maybe down here in a little bit, down towards the bottom. It'll tell a story. Okay, so here we have fuel. Now, 3.14 is their average. 2% is national average. Tell me about their service area. They're driving the wheels off their trucks, aren't they? Now, being a drain company, they may be doing 8, 10 jobs a day. They may be just driving the wheels off their trucks. They may have the first job in Logan, the second job in Santaquin, and the third job in St. George mentality. You kind of get the idea. Okay, total vehicle and equipment cost. Again, national average is 5.5%. They're at 8.67%. So they're 3% high. What does 1% mean on a $1 million company? What's 1%? What's that? $10,000 bucks. 1% is $10,000. Keep that in mind. Okay, there's not a whole lot here to look at.
Can you go back to that, the bottom of the last chart?
Uh-huh.
You know, your gross profit, if I can ask, is if the national average is 44.9, is that where you think a company should be at the end? Am I jumping ahead of something?
No, you're not. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of things that this number represents on a national average that you may put, this is what we call below the line and above the line. So we may put fuel below the line, you may put it above the line, which changes that by 2%. Manager's salaries, you may put them above the line, we may put them below the line. So you have to look at, if you do comparables, you have to look at these numbers and say, oh, why do they have fuel up here? I put my fuel down here. And then you raise the numbers and you get the idea. So
is there a number that you would consider at the end of everything that your gross profit should be to be successful?
the way we do our financials, I like to see it over 50%. In my company in Las Vegas, we were over 60. 60 is where I bonus my managers at. Okay? Our Texas operation, Corey, correct? Aren't they like 52%? Again, they're big in air conditioning, though, too. Okay? Sometimes that takes it lower. Yep. Okay, so again, here we go. Here's all of our overhead stuff. Here's the stuff that keeps the doors open. Okay, so this isn't a big number. Credit card fees. Tell me what's going on here. This is pretty low, obviously. But what's happening here?
Tell us what it is, like we can't read it.
I'm sorry, credit card fees. Credit card transaction fees. Percentage is 0.15% back when I did this. These guys are finally starting to use credit cards. They have a lot of people using credit cards. So that's good. What's credit cards now? About 2%? Is that about right? Yep, about 2%. Yep. Does it hurt to shop them? Oh, heck no. But be careful when you do shop them because they sneak fees in. How many times does your credit card company charge you to do a statement? About half of them do. They charge you $25 or whatever it is to send you a statement. Guys, it's all automated. You're not going to charge me a stinking thing to do a statement. But that's how they make their money. Okay, here's some other items for you. Look at this very top one up here. Kind of hard to see, but this is administrative and warehouse salaries. So this is office salaries. How many people, if we had a $1 million company, how many people would be in the office? Well, let's go back. How many trucks typically would you have in the field for a $1.1 million company? Give or take a touch. Probably 3 to 4. Okay, so between $350,000 to $250,000 to $350,000 in revenue is kind of an average. You're going to have some higher, and you're going to have some lower. The guys that are lower, we're going to take them out back behind the shed and give them an education. So, but this one up here, The national average is 7%. That's 6.96%. These guys are at 12.41%. What's happening here?
Too many employees in the office.
What's that?
Too many employees in the office.
Too many employees in the office, or
Growth phase.
what's that?
They're planning for growth.
You're paying it too much.
Paying too much. The owner is being greedy, isn't he? So where's the money coming from that the owner's getting out of here?
Profit.
Remember we talked about the technicians a few minutes ago, how low they're being paid? There's only so much money out there. So he's not paying the technicians, but guess what he's putting in his pocket? Could the owner still be in the field at this point with 4 trucks? Could be. That's about the... Let me give you some research we did back in the early days of Mr. Reuter. If you're at 900,000 to 1.1 million or 1.2 million, you're going to have a problem. And it repeats itself every million in sales. And why does it repeat itself? Every million, you've got to bring somebody else in the office. Okay? But what happens is sometimes you don't bring him in soon enough, or you bring him in too soon and sales don't increase. So when that number comes in, you've got to be able to increase your marketing to bring that new person in. Okay, so again, that's 6% different right there, 5.5%. Okay, benefits. So he pays benefits, but not a lot. National average is 0.7 with the kind of benefits they had here, and he's at 1.34. So rent. Now the national average for rent is 1.2, and he's at 8.85. Tell me about his building. He's working out of his garage, isn't he? Well, probably not, because most guys that work out of their garage don't have a line item that says rent. It's free. It's like when their wife works for them. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this right now. It's when their wife works for them. Why do you pay your wife? Most of them don't. It's just part of what they do. You do get paid, don't you? Very, very good. Okay, so again, my guess is a small shop, maybe an office warehouse type of thing. It's low, small, pretty junky most of the time. Okay. Here's internet advertising. This is an interesting one. So internet advertising. What is internet advertising? What do I mean by that?
Google Ads.
Anything online. So this would be your social media, your Google ads, your whatever the heck it is, all this kind of stuff. The national average is 4.2%. He's at 10.5%. Why is he so high? A brand new company, yep, trying to build his business.
To keep his business open, he has to advertise.
That much?
That's the drain, SEO, all of that.
Okay.
Doesn't have a lot of repeat business.
Ah, he's buying every stinking customer he's got. Now, does he have, because the one at the very top up here, because he's probably paying himself so much, do you think his office staff is keeping in touch with his existing customers? Send them a letter every once in a while or an email, tell them thanks or all the above? Now, this guy is buying every stinking customer he's got. Okay, doesn't know how to do customer retention. My guess is he's probably doing the marketing himself. Somebody called him on the phone and said, I could get you on the first page of Google every time. But they don't say it's going to be for underwater basket weaving, but that's first page. That's what they promised. Okay? So it is what it is. This guy's buying every stinking thing. But again, we're talking 6% here. 6% is how much again of $100 or $1 million bucks? $60,000 more he's spending that he shouldn't need to be spending. Okay, promotional advertising, it's not much. National average is 0.13. This guy's 0.2. Promotional advertising, that's your little doodads, your chip clips, all that kind of paraphernalia. Okay, postage, I don't even know why I put that one in there. So, okay, here comes the last page. So bad debt, 0.17 is normal. He's at 2.17, so he's 2% higher. That's $20,000 higher. He did work, he just threw $20,000 away. Is anybody okay with that, $20,000? So tell me about his collections department in his office. Yeah. Is he collecting on site? Probably not. Probably not. Okay, here's our depreciation. This tells you about his trucks. Now, kind of just a rule of thumb. I look at depreciation saying, I have a truck, the payment is $1,000 a month. On depreciation, it's going to be $1,000. Just kind of rule of thumb. I know Corey's just shaking his head over there like, what the heck are you thinking, Dad? But it is what it is. That's kind of just the easy way of saying, there's your payment for your truck right there, is depreciation. So we can see right here that his depreciation is relatively low. It's not a lot, but relatively low. So his trucks most likely are older trucks. Thus, of course, the fuel is higher too, and the repairs and maintenance is higher as well. Okay.
And he's running the tire office off the first page.
That's correct. Yeah.
So are you not necessarily swagging the number, but you're coming up with a way to depreciate it, but then I assume at the end of your financials, at the end of the year, you do a journal entry to adjust it closer to what the accountant wants it to be, or?
Corey, you want to answer that one?
That's a loaded one. I have software.
The software is automatically calculates it.
Yeah.
You true it up at the end of the year, yeah.
True it up with journal entry at the end of the year. 'cause
There's
I'm-
some set formats for the type of asset you
Yeah.
have to. A vehicle's 7 years, computer 5 years, just kind of throw that kind of in there.
If they do it right,
Dollars now, you get
what's that?
appreciation for tax purposes every year, so.
What's that again?
I mean, so you get a huge tax incentive every year now for depreciation. So unless you're just fictitiously putting it in for purposes of your calculations, you take all the tax that year of the truck, unless you're putting it over $500,000.
You can.
Depreciation too. I happen to know yours. There's the setting the CPA has, which is the tax depreciation.
Right.
And then there's your gap or your book
Yeah.
depreciation.
That's why I'm asking the question, is if you're putting it in there for that purpose, to account for it, but some of these things are not relevant anymore if you pay for it cash.
Still have to appreciate, don't you, Corey?
Yeah.
Only, yeah, but it's all done in the first year.
Can be.
You can choose that, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Choose either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how you choose to use it. We use it as a kind of a replacement program. So at the end of 7 years, when it's fully depreciated, we're like, yeah, should probably look at replacing it. But for depreciation, we'll drop it all in 1 year, like you're saying, the benefit.
But what I want you to do is I want you to come close with that number, and at the end of the year, your account will, it may be 0.5% or a few $1,000 change. That means you come pretty close. Okay, but at the end, oops, look what happened down here. I bet you most people in that room have never seen 15.6% before to their bottom line. I'm just saying it's very, very rare for a group like this to have a financial statement with that much to the bottom line. Most of you are in that number right there, 3.56%. What's the national average? The last PHCC thing they did, what's the national average for bottom line operating profit, which includes the, it shouldn't, but it does, the draws that an owner makes. They put the draws back in here so it looks, so the numbers are there. What's the average for a new construction company, the bottom line? What was that? 6.6%. 6.6%. Give or take, I mean, that's the number they came up with last time I saw. So, if you don't keep score, you may be surprised who just won the game, and that's the sad part. That's really sad. Some of these companies I've worked with, when I go out there on those 911 calls, I love to work with them because most of the time, it's such a simple fix. It's so simple. And you say, just change this right here, and train, train, train. And the problem typically fixes itself. see here. Okay, just a couple more. Oh, I can't do it here. I'm going to send this out to you guys. What you're going to do, because for some reason the computer's not syncing up here. You're going to put your sales right here. Your cost of sales, so that's your, again, cost of goods sold. That would be your labor, your materials, your subcontractors, rental equipment, things like that. Put it right here, and then you put your overhead number in here, okay? And then it'll calculate these other two numbers for you. I wish I could get these other things to come up. I can do it afterward if we need to. Then come down here, and then you say, what's my break even? You put the amount of trucks you have in there. I don't care. Okay, if you're a new construction company, how many hours a day are you going to be getting your technicians to work? Physically turning wrenches, doing work. How many hours a day out of 8? 6 is a really good number. Most people say, I get 8. You just look at them and say, you're a liar. Nobody gets 8 out of them. I mean, how long does it take for a 15-minute break? 30 minutes. You guys all know that. So 6 to 6.5 hours. If you're in a remodel business, what's your number? 5 to 6 typically. Service and repair out of 8 hours, how many do you typically figure for? 4 hours. Okay, so those of you who are in new construction, and Aunt Jane calls and wants you to put a water heater in for you, and you're used to charging $125 an hour for your new construction, what should you be charged? Let's say you charge $100 an hour. What should you be charging her to do her water heater? Depends what kind of aunt she is. Maybe $400. You get the idea. So then, again, this down here at the bottom, it's called what if. Go in there and say, okay, I want to raise my prices up 5%. And it'll tell you what it brings to the bottom line. It's a pretty cool spreadsheet. We did this a while back. But it wakes you up is what it really does. It says, there's no way I can charge that right now. Well, then go ahead and continue to drive your wife's minivan to the office then and to work. And you kind of get the idea. If you don't have an office, you still have to charge for the office because tomorrow you may have a new office because your wife she wants her garage back. Okay? So today you still have to charge for that office. It may be $1,000, maybe $2,000 a month, whatever the heck it is. Put it in your numbers. That way it's already there. If not, you'll be surprised. Because when you do get a new office, then instantly you have to raise your prices up. Come on. The key to any business success is the quality of the teamwork and the culture of the company. If you don't have the correct culture in your business, if your people aren't all on the same page, what happens? We look like this, don't we? Instead of everybody together. Got a quick little video here. It's going to take me just 1 second to get into this, so bear with me a minute here. Maybe. Ding, ding. Well, that didn't work out. Just went black up here. Ah, there we go. Gotta love it. Okay, teamwork. Lighten things up just a little bit. Again, at the end of the day, your team all has to be on the same page. If you've got your accounting department on one page, your operation department on a different page, you've got a real problem. Again, I caution you, get your financials, understand them and learn them, and that's what it's all about. Any questions? Appreciate it. Thank you very much.